So this video is going to be a quick review of the Kaweco Steel Sport fountain pen. This is basically an upgraded version of the Sport, which you've probably seen before. It's a portable or pocketable fountain pen. It sells for about $20 and it's generally in a plastic. It comes in some really nice looking plastics like opaque and then some nice colors like an opaque red, but also clear. But upgraded models are sold in aluminum, so that would be the AL Sport or the aluminum Sport. Then there's the brass Sport, and then there's the steel Sport, kind of at the top of the line. And this one gets pretty expensive. Retail is around $120, and so it's definitely not a super cheap pen, but you get a really nice steel feel to it. You know, obviously steel is not a material you see in too many fountain pens. You know, tend to see plastic or resin. Sometimes you'll see enamel with brass under it. Not a ton of steel because it's hard to manufacture and pretty heavy. So this is a pretty interesting offering. So what's the deal with the Steel Sport? Has the same shape and size as the standard Kaweco Sport, which means there's a large cap and a small body. The pen is quite small, but you don't really use it like this. What happens is you get that cap and you mount it here, and now you have just about a full-size fountain pen. Obviously, there are some issues with that because it's not that long, and it's also back-weighted, because now all your weight is in the cap. That is a bigger issue with the brass and steel models than it is with the aluminum or plastic models. So it's something you got to keep in mind. All of the, I would say the build or the fit and finish are all really nice. The steel is really well done. You could see it's a brushed steel. It has all the original lines of the standard Kaweco. So we have this shape. I guess it's about 8 sides. Goes down to a really nice circle here. You have that finial piece, which has the standard logo. You can see Kaweco, quite nice. Same kind of deal here. Super nice threading and a really nice grip area. It really looks quite nice. You know, I had trouble dealing with the price tag of this pen, so I hunted it down used. And the nice thing about a used steel pen is steel is super tough, so the pen is pretty much bomb-proof. If you want a Kaweco that is heavy, you might opt for the brass one. The brass does not hold up as well. So that's one of the advantages of the steel. Even though they're a very similar weight, the brass is about, I want to say it's about $75 or $80. This one's about $120. The steel is much less common, so finding it used can be a real challenge. But anyway, really, really nice machining here. Super clean on the threads. We'll see if we can get it. Yeah, just really, really clean work. That's like consistent with all the Kaweco pens. They're really nicely made, but to see it done in steel is very cool. And then let's actually look at that cap again. You'll see there's a couple scratches here, but very few scratches considering that this is a pen that I've been using for some time, months now. And I wasn't the first owner. I don't even know if I was the second owner. Who knows? So the fact that it is almost flawless, maybe it just wasn't used much previously. That's definitely a possibility. But it is really quite resistant to damage, which is really nice to see. And then the cap, just I think there's a little liner in there. It's really nothing you can service though. There's just some threading right here, so you can seal it shut. It's a nice seal. You can leave this thing locked down for a couple weeks and this thing will write no problem. One of the issues with this pen is that it's like I said, it's pretty expensive and it has a tiny little nib. It has the same nib across the line, so whether you spend $20 on the Sport or maybe $40 on the AL Sport or $120 on this, whatever it is, you're going to get the same nib. Some are silver colored, some are gold colored. They're all steel nibs. I don't believe there's a titanium nib option or a gold nib option. So you have the same steel nib. The nib I got with this one was a fine, and it didn't write well. So I unscrewed the nib, and you could see this. If you unscrew the nib, the actual nib and the little plastic housing around it and the feed, they all come right out, and you could put a new one in, which is a really nice system because you can get a brand new nib in this pen for about $19 or $20, something like that. So I took out that silver nib, I put in this gold one. I think it is and it's a B, a broad, and I really like this. It's actually a little bit wet, which we'll see in a second, but it's really nice to use. So I think that's pretty much most of what there is to say about this. The steel is a really nice upgrade. It's quite expensive. You know, for me, like $20 on the plastic one versus $120 on the steel. I'm going to get the plastic, but I really had to try this one because it has been, saw a bunch of people using it, and it really just, I don't know, I'm like, man, I really just want to try this pen, so I hunted it down. It took a long time, but it's been fun to use. It weighs 41 grams, so if you want a weight reference versus your standard Kaweco, that's it. It weighs about twice as much. This is using a standard international cartridge. I'm just using they're just a Schneider cartridges. I like those. They're really affordable. You can buy like a 20 pack for $3 or something like that. They're pretty easy to find on Amazon. And again, really nice threading work. The build quality on this thing is really quite nice. And very little in the way of plastic. All this is steel. Then obviously just a plastic on the inside. You'd hear that steel when it clangs together. Just feels nice. So don't get too hung up on the writing here. This is the broad nib. I also have the double broad, which is a little crazy. Like I said, this came with the fine, so you'll be able to customize it to your liking. They do write quite wet, so get expected to size down. So this is the Kaweco Steel Sport. These nibs are very functional. They're not very lively or interesting. They're just, they write when you need them to write. They're affordable, and they're really problem-free. So I like them, but they're quite small and rather utilitarian looking, especially in the silver. They're just the kind of a daily driver type thing. In steel, they look a little bit nicer, but it's still just a stiff, small, strong nib that you don't really have to worry too much about or even think too much about. But you are sacrificing on the sort of springiness or liveliness that you might get from a higher end nib. And of course, for $120, you can get like maybe like a Platinum Century 3776. You can buy a Pilot Custom 74. You're gonna have to buy probably gray market off Amazon, but there's just a range of options you can get. You could almost get into whatever. I'm not gonna list gold nib pens. They do exist at this price range. They're not gonna have an expensive steel body like this, and they won't have this pocketable styling. So if you want something you could throw in a pocket, I've never had this thing leak. Never had any problems with it. This is a very good, secure seal right here, and obviously this is closed. So worst case scenario, if that ink cartridge were to come out, which again has never happened to me, you have a really good seal here. And then if the nib were to loosen or anything like that, you have another seal here. So I have no problem putting this in my pocket. And in fact, I throw these Kawecos in bags all the time, and I've always trusted them and never had any issues. So yeah, the Kaweco Steel Sport, a really well-made, good-looking pen. Unfortunately, it's hard to find used, and they very rarely go on sale, and it's pretty expensive. So you're kind of stuck with the price. For me, this is kind of more of a pen you'd give someone where you're a little bit less price sensitive, and probably not something I'd recommend buying myself, even though I enjoy using it. The standard plastic one is really nice. I use that one all the time. I think if you watch some of my early videos, you'll see I had a clear one, and I use that one all the time, and I really do like it. But anyway, this is a cool twist on a really great formula. Thanks for watching.